with my friend Dean Croke here. How you doing, Dean?
Hey, good, thanks, Mike.
Love your truck. Tell me a little bit about your truck.
This is a 2003 379. It's an ex-Werner Enterprises fleet truck.
Okay.
Used to have bunk beds in the back. Now got a big lounge and two TVs and an Xbox and stereo. We put a new custom interior in it. After Werner had it, A&R Logistics ran it for a little while, and then I've had it for about 10 years.
Wow.
It's just kicked over 732,000 on the clock.
No kidding. Sounds good.
Yeah, most of the work's been done by Berubis up in New Hampshire.
Okay.
The interior was done by the Chrome Shop Mafia in Joplin, Missouri. And the rest of it I've done myself. And the paintwork's pretty much original.
And what do you do with the truck? Do you work it?
This is just a show truck now. No more, it's a show truck. Make-A-Wish Foundation, community education, touch of truck work. Just generally have fun with it. When you do a few million miles as a driver, you always think about what you'll do one day if you had the means and the time.
Yep.
This was my 35-year dream.
Wow.
It was a black Peterbilt.
So how did you get your start in trucking?
My dad had a business in Australia, and I started driving on the road when I was 9. He would, in the Outback, he'd drive for a while and get tired, and then I'd take over driving.
Okay.
And I did a lot of miles as a kid. And just grew up driving trucks. My uncle had a 359 Peterbilt, and he hauled gasoline around Australia. So I used to ride with him on weekends, and that's where I got the 359 dash bug.
Okay.
In his 359. So once I saw what that was like, I spent a lot of years riding with him. I kind of had this black Peterbilt in my mind, and with a 359 dash, but I knew I wanted a 379 cab with a high roof.
I bet it confuses a lot of people when they see you at a truck show.
Well, the funniest thing is you have a lot of people who think the gear sticks are 5 and 4.
Okay.
So you'll go to historic shows and you'll have a lot of guys underneath it trying to figure out where the auxiliary transmission is.
Right.
Of course, it's just the 12-gauge custom retro kit where all the air shifters are taken off, and the high and low range is a separate air solenoid under the battery box on the right there.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. And what are some of the places you go with your truck?
Furthest I go is Joplin to the Guild by Association truck show.
Mm-hmm.
I go down to Chattanooga a lot with where I work during the week, and we do things like we host podcasts in the truck with some of our journalists. That goes out nationally. It's a national show called What the Truck,
Yep.
which is a weekly roundup of the freight markets for the trucking industry.
Interesting.
And generally I go up to Quebec a lot of the time, go to Quebec to the truck races. Love going up there. And Charlotte's probably as far south as I go.
Word is you drive this truck around town to do your shopping and take your kids to hockey. And
I'm guilty of all those things.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't have any cars in the driveway like today, so I had to drive the truck. But once you got it in the blood, it's hard not to want to drive the truck all the time. So.
Sure, I don't blame you.
It's a hard job. Driving trucks is a hard, physical, demanding, mentally hard job, and it's not easy. It's not any easier with the new ELD mandate and the imposition it puts on drivers and the prescriptive regulations. It's a really hard job these days, much harder than it was when I was driving trucks in Australia.
What were some of the things you used to haul when you were in Australia?
Mostly cattle. Did a lot of express freight, a lot of produce. Air freight and produce were kind of the deadheading.
Mm-hmm.
Not deadheading, but the back haul was always air freight, and the forward haul was produce.
Mm-hmm.
Out of far north Queensland, did some road train work hauling jet fuel.
Yep.
And but mostly livestock. We had a family livestock business, so we grew up sort of in that space. But, potatoes. We grew potatoes on our farm. So we were always hauling potatoes to market.
Right.
And we had sheep, so we were hauling. Yeah, we kind of Dad started off with a little old Ford truck in the late 50s, and he was, some farmers that see you had a truck and they'd call you and say, can you move some sheep or cattle or whatever?
Yep.
And that's kind of how the business started, just from people seeing you had a truck and calling you up.
What would your dad think of trucking now?
I'm not sure. I think he'd probably say it's too hard.
Yeah.
These things are too big.
Really?
Yeah. The truck that he taught me to drive in was a 1969. So it was 1969 1418 Mercedes-Benz.
Wow.
And in Australia, where all the trucks were American with Armstrong steering boxes and 5-speed crash box gearboxes, we had a 1418 Mercedes-Benz with a 5-speed synchro mesh and power steering in 1969. So as a 9-year-old, it was dead easy to drive. I just had to sit on a pillow.
Right.
That's all it was. So it was really hard to understand the size of the vehicle, but the physical driving of the part was really easy because it was a German truck. And in Australia, the German the 1418 Mercedes-Benz was a bit like the Ford LTL here. It's one of those real moneymaker trucks.
No kidding. Would you recommend anybody going into trucking these days?
I would, if they had their eyes open and they wanted to make a career out of it. It's been a really good career to me. I've been working 40 years in the trucking industry. Mm-hmm. I've run truck companies. I've done a couple of million miles as a driver. I've been in operations. I've been in safety. I've been in general management. I've worked for insurance companies that insure truck fleets. And now I work for FreightWaves, which is, helps people understand the freight markets that all the truckers haul freight in. So if you're really passionate about this industry, it's a really good industry to be part of because there's such a shortage of people that want to make it a career.
What is FreightWaves?
FreightWaves is a software company. We have software that helps trucking companies and brokers and shippers understand the freight market. Mm-hmm. We've got a digital online publication called FreightWaves. It's a free subscription.
Okay.
You can read about the industry. So
that'd be freightwaves.com?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
So it's a great industry. It's been really rewarding to me because I've always prepared to study and learn more. People say, why did you stop driving? I stopped driving when I was late 30s because I wanted to have a family.
Right.
And I knew that I couldn't do long distance trucking and bring up a young family. So that's when I switched over to working for the Australian Trucking Association, which I ran for a couple of years.
Okay.
And that was, people say, how did you do that from driving trucks? Well, if you read books and study and take risks, you can change and do whatever you want to do in life. You don't always have to sit there and think you don't have any decisions, because I know what it feels like to be driving a truck and you sit there and think, this is hopeless, I've got no choices, I'm not smart enough. I just decided to read books and change my lot in life. Also lost a couple of drivers when we were in a truck business and telling a spouse that your husband's not coming home anymore, and you're looking kids in the eye and you know that on your watch these drivers died. That's a life-changing experience. So I think all of us need some sort of a catalyst to change what they do in life, and for me that was the thing that started my path to working here in the United States. Because I was a truck driver for so many years, I suffered from sleep deprivation and would fall asleep and run off the roads. So I started going to fatigue conferences, and I met a Harvard professor who was specialised in human physiology, and he said, would you come to America and run my consulting business? And that was 20 years ago, and here we are today.
Oh my God.
So it was a chance meeting at a conference.
What a story, yes. And look how it's changed your life.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me, taking me for a ride in your beautiful truck.
You're welcome. And it's called the Grumpy Pete. A lot of people ask, why do you call it the Grumpy Pete? Well,
wait a minute, your truck is called the Grumpy Pete?
Yeah, my boys said, when I put the big visor on it and the old school headlights, my boys said one day, Dad, it's a really grumpy looking Peterbilt. So, and I've always had this vision to write children's books about sleep and education on sleep and fatigue. So my long-term plan is to write a book called The Adventures of the Grumpy Pete.
Okay.
Which will be, it'll be a cartoon character, and the Grumpy Pete will travel around this country and get into all sorts of mischief. it'll get stuck in Florida and can't get produce out.
Oh no.
Or it'll be, running the west coast to California, or it'll be hauling Christmas trees out of Seattle. So it'll be educational for the sort of 3 to 7 year old group.
Sure.
Hopefully people still read.
That's my group.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to reading it.
Yeah. I think between the two of us, we've got enough stories. I've got all these visionary characters in the book. You're one of them.
Oh boy, you're in trouble now.
Yeah. You're in my Adventures of a Dump Truck series book.
A dump truck? Oh, dump truck.
Dump truck.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think there's so much community and education work we can do. I go to truck shows to have fun and meet other truckers, but I also go to a lot of non-trucker events to educate the community on the trucking industry and how much of an important part of the economy it is. They don't know that 80% of freight moves on trucks. People have no idea that long-haul truckers are away from home for so long. They have no idea how hard it is, even just to drive trucks around Boston.
Yeah.
Most people are pretty oblivious to how important truckers are to this economy, but there's a lot of truth in the saying that if truckers stop, so would the economy. They're going to a halt in a few days. You look at all these guys out here leaving home on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm always out here and I'm constantly, everybody wants fresh fruit on Monday morning in New York. Well, all these guys will be in Hunts Point by 3 o'clock this evening and unloaded with their lobsters and seafood and blueberries from Maine.
Think about the sacrifice. Like
Sunday.
They spent all day getting ready and last night sleeping well, hopefully, and leaving the house and leaving the kids behind. And
well, when you look at data, you see this one of the busiest days of the week for truckers is Sunday afternoon.
Sure.
You see a lot of drivers out running on Sundays.
Yep.
They'd love to be home Fridays. That doesn't always happen.
A lot of guys get home Saturday afternoon and they do their laundry and they're tired and they put on a fresh face for the family and do what they have to do, and then Sunday they're focused on, well, what time do I have to leave and hit the road and miss traffic and try and get some sleep before their Monday morning delivery. And
well, the hard part for drivers that live away from home, even guys that sort of drive regionally, is it's hard to deal with problems from the inside of the cab because you always want to be somewhere else when you drive a truck. You're always trying to go somewhere, and when you have problems at home, it's even harder because you can't deal with family situations with kids and teenagers from the behind the windscreen of a truck.
It's heartbreaking.
Really,
like when
really
your wife calls you and says your child has a fever and has to get to the doctor, and
your kids acting up at school, you've got bills you can't pay.
You feel helpless.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a really tough job, and that's part of the reason turnover is so high in large fleets, is because the home life balance is really, really difficult to get right. It's hard to get drivers home.
Absolutely.
But the length of haul is changing. When you look at data, the length of haul of trucking in this country has come down from 750 miles 5 years ago to around 350, 400 miles now. So as distribution centres are getting closer to populations, truckers are not driving as much long distance freight as they used to, which is good because they're getting home more often.
Their work-life balance is becoming a little more bearable.
Yep.
But
the other thing with ELDs though is you're still not paid for dock time, for all the waiting around time. So we spend a lot of time at FreightWaves working with shippers on becoming shippers of choice. And I was at a conference the other day talking to shippers and said you really got to work hard on helping drivers at the dock, because for a driver on a dock, they're not getting paid for any of that time. Certainly not for the first hour and a half.
Right. And that's a lot of free time to giving away when they should be getting paid. I mean, you're on the road to get paid, not to sit around for free.
There are cases now where people are trying to push the drivers getting paid for every hour they're at work. And if you think about a driver, they could be at work for 70 or 80 hours a week. When you think about all the work they've got to do on servicing and repairs and maintenance, pre and post trip checking, loading, unloading, not just the driving piece.
Yeah, it's a tough business.
But I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. I just think it's a fabulous industry.
What are the good parts of the trucking industry, you think?
The people.
Yep.
Your fellow drivers are the salt of the earth. I love hanging out with truck drivers. They're just the backbone of this country, the backbone of any country. They're the first people to give you the shirt off their back when you're in trouble.
Absolutely.
You know, we had a truck show down in Connecticut for a young 8-year-old boy that's got a fatal terminal brain disease, and he was a normal 8-year-old kid 2 years ago. Now he's I don't know how long he's got to go, but everybody got together with Connecticut truck builders, and we had a Trucks for Charity event to raise money for the family, and the father's a truck driver down in Connecticut, and young Christopher Gray is like, I got some photos of him with the truck, and it's just heartbreaking, but people travel for hundreds of miles to be there to help raise money.
I mean, you can definitely say truckers definitely have the biggest hearts.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I think because they see life with a different perspective. You know, they don't have rose-colored glasses on.
Sure.
They're in amongst all the tough parts of life every day.
Yep.
They see it every single day.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me, Dean. Giving me a ride in your truck.
Anytime, Mike.
And be safe out there. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you.